This time, Alan, good for you?
Yes, it was. Obviously, to be at your home race and to get is important. Muller got it in Germany and Silverstone.
What about the side of the track you're on? I think they've swapped you over from the normal pole.
It's not ideal. I thought until about 30 minutes ago I'd be on the inside. However, it really does. It just basically depends how we get the power down and how the panels of David Brabham gets the power down. It's going to be quite tight into the first corner, though.
We know these Porsches, are they reliable? Could be the big test this time.
It's in Germany, but we did fix the problems the next day. There were small problems, but they were enough to put us out. We don't think we'll have those same problems again.
Okay, good luck, Alan. Let's find out how the rest of the cars qualified now from Simon Taylor.
McNish's teammate Uwe Altsens on row 2 next to the fastest Mercedes of Oschersleben winners Klaus Ludwig and Ricardo Zonta. But on the front row is the front-engine Paynos, and that's thanks to David Brabham.
What chance of nipping ahead of that Porsche on the first corner?
Difficult, but I'll certainly be trying. But, you know, we're not going to win the race going into the first corner first and cause us some damage. So, you know, if Alan's in front, then, you know, he'll be in front, and then we'll see what happens. You know, we've got quite a long time for the race to settle down and get a result at the end. I'm confident we can get on the podium if everything runs correctly.
Nice for you today to have your dad here too. So, Jack, it's good to see that name Brabham on the front row at Silverstone again.
Yep, it is, actually. It's a favourite spot for Silverstone. Has been for many years.
Do you take great pride in the racing activities of all your sons?
Ah, yes, obviously, yeah, they keep me busy running around, keeping track of them all, and it's great to be at Silverstone on a day like this, of course, and see him on the front row. That's great.
In GT2, reigning champion Justin has failed to keep his full-time seat in the Chrysler Viper team, but he's here at Silverstone. His car's qualified third in its class, and the starting driver is the German winger. But Justin's hoping to impress on his home turf and earn his drive back.
There's a point to prove here.
Point to prove, but God, I thought I did that last year. I mean, you know, much more can you prove, really? But, you know, it's an excellent squad. I'm so pleased to be racing, because, you know, he's obviously top talent, and in between the two of us, and we're the same size. So it's a bit nicer than some of my weenie teammates I had last year.
Conditions are perfect here at Silverstone. The full Grand Prix circuit, of course. Lots of fast open corners for the big GT cars to use their full 600 horsepower.
So it could be a big day for Alan McNish and Porsche. Settle back and enjoy with Simon.
Lots of GT1 and GT2 on this big grid as they come round for the rolling start, headed by McNish, Alan McNish's Porsche, and David Brabham's Paynos at the front. Porsche and Mercedes, the light is green, they're away, and Alan McNish makes a perfect start down the straight into the first 100 Copse corner. Alan McNish leads. Behind him, the Paynos has got second place, one of the silver Mercedes going into third, just ahead of Uwe Altsens' Porsche, and then the rest of the field all shuffling and jockeying for position as the leaders go away from Copse, down the slight incline, through the fast Maggots curve and down to Beckett's. It's McNish, then it's Brabham. Ludwig going third place just ahead of Uwe Altsens' Porsche, reversing their grid positions, so it's Porsche, Paynos, Mercedes, Porsche, Mercedes, and they're fanning out now on the long Hanger straight up to 190 miles before they get on the brake into the right-hander at Stowe corner. There is the Mercedes of Ludwig in third place, but look at both McNish and Brabham making a little bit of a break. Ludwig then still in third place, Ullson is fourth. Then it's side by side there, that was Bernd Schneider trying to move up, and it's done him no good at all. Bernd Schneider's lost a couple of places trying to elbow past the blue Mercedes there of Christophe Bouchou, and that has delayed the silver Mercedes with the yellow mirrors for a moment. They're up already to Abbey Curve, the tight chicane now at Abbey Curve, and already the leaders coming in tight under the bridge. Right-hander at Bridge Corner, Alan McNish, magnificently leading for Scotland and for Germany, of course, but in second place, front-engine Paynos, that grumbling car with its thunderous American V8 engine note. That's David Brabham place. There's Klaus Ludwig with the red mirrors on the silver number 2. Ludwig in third place, and we see once again, look, silver Mercedes of Bernd Schneider coming inside the blue Mercedes of Christophe Bouchou. Bouchou takes his line, Schneider has to come off the power, and look, going round the outside of him there in the green Porsche, that was Michael Bartels. Not a good manoeuvre for the reigning GT1 champion, but it's a long race, and he's going to come back. McNish, meanwhile, starting to ease away, but still that silver paint his mirrors. And a cloud of dust at Brooklyn. Somebody's gone off. It's one of the Mercedes. It's Jean-Marc Gounon. Put them deep into the gravel. I would say he's out of the race as once more we watch McNish sitting relaxed in that tiny, tight little cockpit inside the GT1 Porsche. They come onto the start-finish straight once more. The Paynos in second place. Mercedes third. Porsche fourth. Mercedes fifth. And the Paynos is actually, if anything, starting to close a little bit on Alan McNish, dropping the other two, the queue behind them, Mercedes, Porsche, that battle going on. But the American V8, the Paynos, the interloper in this battle of Stuttgart. Walking in now, Jean-Marc Gounon.
You seem to be struggling from the start there.
Yeah, because since yesterday we have got a problem on this car, and we have big snap oversteer, and we didn't find a way, and since 4 laps on the radio I was asking to come in because he wasn't.
Someone else in early trouble, it's the Dutchman Jan Lammers coming into the pits in the Bitter, the car that last year is a Lotus, and meanwhile here come McNish and Brabham pulling away. Then in third place it's Ludwig. There he goes in the silver Mercedes, and he's got Uwe Altzen and Christophe Bouchou behind him, then the green Porsche, which is Michael Bartels. And it's interesting that McNish and David Brabham seem to have a bit of extra speed. That Twan Hesseman standing by the Bitter. Jan Lammers already out of the car, and there's our GT2 leader. That's the brilliant German girl, Claudia Hurtgen, who is leading the Vipers at the moment. Second place, Uwe is right up with David Brabham suddenly, but ahead. But Uwe Altzen has decided it's time to make it a Porsche 1-2, and David Brabham under real pressure now. The headlights blazing on that silver front-engine Paynos. Tremendous cockpit heat inside this car because the exhaust pipes are literally wrapped over the driver's legs, and Altzen running wide in his efforts to try and get closer and closer to David Brabham. There's in front of them. They're starting to lap the slower GT2 cars, and David Brabham working very, very hard in a car that is quick in a straight line, but is not as good under braking and not as quick in the corners as is the much more up GT1 behind. They're gobbling up the slower cars now. They come down towards Copse. A brief hesitation there for David Brabham. Into the pits, it's the leader. The leader's in the pits. Alan McNish has a problem. He's in much too early. This is not a routine stop. Alan McNish in the pits. The Paynos is in the... And it's not, because briefly Uwe Altzen gets ahead. David Brabham keeps the door slammed shut. David Brabham continues to lead for the first time in its FIA GT Championship career. Paynos is leading, and there's poor Alan McNish. A bitter pill for him. They're taking the engine cover off the formerly leading Porsche. McNish in bad trouble. So far this season, these dramatic new GT1 Porsches have been very fast, but they haven't yet shown themselves to be reliable. But the battle for the lead goes on. They just swallow up the smoking bitter of Rainer Bonnitz-Muller. Still the Paynos has the lead. Still Uwe Altzen pushing hard, and traffic they go. We watch from Pedro Lami's Viper. He's battling for the GT2 lead alongside Porsche number 56 and Claudia Hurt. And the fourth place battle was barging through. You saw Schneider very nearly having contact. This fourth place battle is Bouchou in the blue Mercedes, Bartels, Grau and Schneider, all four running of them together. The green Porsche, that's Sandy Grau, still that's King Bitter getting in everybody's way. We've got a yellow flag. Off goes another blue Mercedes. That's Christophe Bouchou now. Christophe Bouchou, who was holding that fourth place, has gone off into the dust, deep in gravel at Copse Corner, well dug in. Of course, under GT regulations, they can drag him out. Car isn't damaged, he can be on, but of course he's absolutely lost his fourth place. That battle going on between Bartels, Grau and Schneider. We see it again. Left his braking to Copse, backwards off into the gravel. And Alan McNish, meanwhile, sitting frustrated, stony-faced. They're shutting him in. They're going to refuel the car now. They're not allowed to refuel while they do anything else. The Marcos is in trouble too. But Alan McNish, they're going to try and get him out again. He's lost a lot of time in the pits. There they are, the Christophe Bouchou Mercedes. Bouchou still sitting in the car. The front wheel's not even going round because the car is beached on the gravel. And here's our GT2 battle once more. Pedro Lamy and the white Viper on the tail of Claudia Hurtgen and silver Porsche, tries to go inside. Claudia gets the door well shut, and still the Porsche leads the fight in GT2, just as the Paynos leads the Porsche in GT1. That's still the Paynos leading the race as Claudia Hürtgen leads GT2, and Bonnetsmuller has finally stopped in the pits in that smoking bitter. They remove the engine cover, and I wouldn't think we're going to be seeing that car again. Alan McNish, meanwhile, is out on the circuit. He's smoking, in fact. The left-hand cylinder bank, a flat 6 turbocharged engine in the back of the Porsche, is smoking badly. Alan McNish going very slowly indeed, looking at his mirrors to make sure he doesn't keep anybody. Oh, and he almost slides the car. I think that engine is locking up. Perhaps it's putting oil on the rear tyres, and Alan McNish's race is surely now run. And what a bitter shame for the young Scotsman. Started from pole position in the very quick GT1 Porsche, turns the headlights off, the race is run. But headlights still ablaze for that Paynos out in front, lapping the GT1 McLaren, the black McLaren there of Jeff Lees and Thomas Boucher at the moment. But the Paynos eases away a little bit from Uwe Altsson, then has to slow a little to go round that slower GT Porsche, and once more Uwe Altsson is right up with him now. The silver front engine Paynos with the big thunderous V8 engine. David Brabham, the Australian, at the wheel. Uwe Altsson tucked into the slipstream now in the Porsche, as he had for several laps. And a little bit of Mercedes team tactics there. The yellow mirrored car, that's Bernd Schneider, going past the red mirrored car, which is Klaus Ludwig. They lap Thomas Boucher as they do so. So now Schneider is third, the reigning champion up into third place. Paynos 1, Porsche 2, Mercedes 3, Mercedes 4, and there is Bernd Schneider up after a comparatively gentle for him, up into third place. And now I think we're going to be able to see whether he can wind in this lead battle. Puffs of flame from the twin source of the Paynos as David Brabham works really hard to try and stay ahead of Uwe Altsson. That's the fifth placed Porsche of Michael Bartels, the green one, as we see once again the McLaren being lapped by Schneider, the McLaren driven by the wealthy German banker Thomas Boucher. Schneider comes through the heat, driving really hard, the car dancing under braking into Cops, as he, in third place, strives to get closer to this battle for the lead. David Brabham leads through the fast, sweet maggots, but Uwe Altsson is dogging his every move, and Altsson has to hit the brakes, almost goes into the back of David Brabham briefly. Brabham has a little bit of a breathing space. Schneider is getting closer and closer. They're on the hanger straight now, headlights ablaze from the Paynos. Brabham leads Schneider, the three of them tied together, up to 195 miles an hour. Now, Altson's going on the end, and they've touched, and the Paynos is off. Brabham backwards off the track. Altsson goes through. Schneider has passed both of them. She takes the lead. Brabham is in the dirt. Brabham is off, and he will be absolutely furious. There's Schneider in the lead. Uwe Altsson still in place, but now behind the Mercedes. We see it again, and as Brabham goes to his line, Altsson is coming down the inside already. A collision is absolutely inevitable. It spins the Paynos round. On the brakes goes Altsson, just misses front of the spinning Paynos, and as the Paynos goes on it once more, so the Porsche is able to sneak in on the inside, but his brakes are on so hard that Schneider is able to take the lead once more. Mercedes won. Now there he is, the man with the errors. He's come all the way up from 8th place to lead the British Empire Trophy, but that Porsche is still fighting. Uwe Altsson wants the lead, and having had that drama with David Brabham, he still finds himself in second place, but this time he's got a V12 Mercedes to try to overtake. Schneider in the lead, and they're pulling the Paynos out. David Brabham still sitting, fuming no doubt, in the cockpit, but the Paynos is dragged out, and remember, he is allowed to restart. There's an awful lot of gravel on the car, but I would think that Brabham will bring that car round to the pits. Yes, Eric Bernard, his co-driver, is being got ready in the Dams pit. They're hastily getting Eric Bernard togged up earlier than he thought he was going to have to be ready, because they know that David Brabham is now coming round to the pits. Eric Bernard runs to the front of the pits. He's going to have to take over. Bernd Schneider pulling away now from Uwe Altsson, who's been dogged by the back markers. Well, actually, those back markers are the GT2 leaders, as back onto the track now goes David Brabham. David Brabham, under his own power, starts off, gravel pouring off the underneath of the car. David Brabham on his way back to the pits. Bernd Schneider is on his way in the lead. Schneider the leader for Mercedes. Uwe out second place for Porsche. Klauswig third for Mercedes. Michael Bartels fourth for Porsche. That's Norbert Mercedes' boss, as here comes their man, Bernd Schneider, leading comfortably onto the start-finish straight now. Comes out of Woodcote Corner, down the short that will take him to Copse Corner, gets up to about 165 miles an hour here before he goes through Copse in fourth gear at 103. And here is the Paynos. The Paynos into the pits now, and they're going to change the tyres. They're going to try and see that all the gravel is out, and I would think that Eric Bernard will certainly take over. Yes, David Brabham getting out of the left-hand drive car. Brabham is out. In gets Eric Bernard, and you can see the frustration and annoyance and weariness in all of Brabham's body language there. But Eric Bernard has the door shut, and away he goes. Eric Bernard back into the race. They've lost several laps. They're well down the order. David Brabham, meanwhile, goes away to think about this incident, which is going to haunt him for a long time. How must he feel now?
Gutted, really, because the car was performing well. We were struggling a little bit with grip. It's just unfortunate that someone would do such a stupid thing. To go down there from too far back is just ridiculous. I'll have a word with him later.
So will the stewards. They've awarded Alson a 30 seconds penalty, but meanwhile this man has come out on top. Bernd Schneider leads at Silverstone. Bernd Schneider still leads the British Empire Trophy here at Silverstone. The early leader, Alan McNish, out. The Paynos of David Brabham spun the race but restarted and running well down. This little car, the Porsche 911 of Claudia Hürtgen, now driven by co-driver Stefan Otelli, leading this car in GT2. That's the Pedro Lamy Viper, driven now by Olivier Beretta, and their teammate, the second Viper of Carl Wendlinger and Justin Bell in the pits now. Gel has been strapped in to take over this car for the first time from Carl Wendlinger. They're refueling the car. As soon as the refueling is finished, they start changing the tyres, but they're taking the bonnet off. I think there's a problem with this car. Justin Bell waiting to take it out, but the bonnet is coming off on Justin Bell's Viper. And in now Klaus Ludwig, Mercedes, running in third place. Klaus Ludwig comes in. Ricardo Zonta, the very talented Formula 1000 champion, taking over, and Justin Bell's smoking Viper is being wheeled back into the back of the pits. That's a tremendous shame for Justin Bell. The race that he wanted to earn back his drive in the Chrysler Viper team, and in comes the leader now. The leader, Bernd Schneider, brings the number 1 Mercedes in, and his Australian driver, Mark Webber, ready. Schneider gets his long, lanky frame out with his seat. In gets Mark Webber. Lots of active pits at the moment. Bartels in the 4th placed Porsche being refueled. Driver change there, handing over to Armin Hahner, his co-driver. And now here's Uwe Altzen. Now he's going to serve a 30 seconds penalty before they can start work car, change the drivers. 30 seconds that must remain, and that's the penalty the stewards have given him for his involvement in the David Brabham incident. They're timing off his 30 seconds as there goes Ricardo Zonta in the Mercedes with the red mirror. Zonta back in the race in 5th place at the moment. Off at Stowe is the Mustang of Rob Sherl and David Warnock. The car deep in the gravel, the driver out, no damage done, but his race is clearly run. He just went, in fact we're seeing it again, straight on. Meanwhile the Uwe Altzen Porsche back in the race with Jörg Müller at the wheel. Now let's hear Uwe Altzen's version of that controversial incident with David Brabham.
Hans was maybe 1 second slower per lap, and I think it's absolutely fair for me and push minimum 10 laps behind him. Right, left, and he saw me in the mirrors, and it was no place for me. He goes into the corner, and then the accident.
Well, the stewards decided he should serve that 30 seconds penalty. Here is Mark Webber and Jeff Lees in the black McLaren. In fact, Lees bringing that car into the pits now as Mark Webber goes on his way. Jeff Lees in place. Jörg Müller in the Uwe Altzen Porsche going well now in 2nd place despite that 30 seconds penalty during their pit stop. In 3rd and 4th places, the 2 Zack-Speed Porsches driven now by Hahner and Schelt. Jeff Lees coming into the pits. Look, he's got a cracked windscreen. But let's hear from a very disappointed Alan McNish.
I lost power just before I came into the pit stop, and it seemed that one of the turbos went down. We thought we cured it, but went back out and it hadn't cured, and then the engine stopped completely for a reason. But certainly this is a new problem because we have never had really engine problems prior to this weekend.
Rotten luck for McNish, but there are still Porsches in second, third and fourth place that matters. This car, the Mercedes, driven now by Mark Webber. The Andreas Schelt, Sandy Grau, Zaxby Porsche leaves the pits. And watch once more as Mark Webber takes the V12 Mercedes, maybe the last race for this big V12 Mercedes, because they're replacing it with a lighter but probably just as powerful V8 car for future rounds of the FIA GT Championship. So lest the Porsches should become reliable, Mercedes are looking for more speed still. Well, there's a lot of speed being shown by Jörg Müller, because that second place Porsche of Jörg Müller is really going quickly now. Jörg Müller is starting to wind in Mark. Jörg Müller very much the hot shoe, the young Formula 3000 expert, and Jörg Müller going very fast indeed and closing the gap now on this leading Mercedes. Bernd Schneider watching in the pits, Mark Webber working in the cockpit as the Webber car comes through the tight full court double right-hander at Luffield and out of the woodcut here and onto the start-finish straight goes Mark Webber. But Jörg Müller currently running about 12 seconds behind and closing that gap. Jörg Müller in second in the Uelzen Porsche, and still Porsche's third and fourth. Now, I would imagine we'll hand that car over to Bernd Schneider for the final stint. I would also guess, looking at the way the Porsche strategy seems to be working, that the very rapid Jörg Müller will remain on board in the number 8 Porsche in second place. He'll make another stop for fuel and for tire. So one stop expected for both this car in second place and the leading Mercedes, but they're running very, very close indeed. Here's a for the Franz Conrad Nick Ham 911 in GT2. Claudia Hürtgen and Stefan Ortelli instead led GT2 for so they're out with the vision. The Pedro Lamy, Olivier Beretta Viper, the big Chrysler, leads GT2, and still Jörg Müller is absolutely storming. He's chipping away at the lap record here on the Silverstone Prix circuit, the lap record this year's G1 category, and he's gobbling up these back markers, driving very, very determinedly indeed. The 911 there keeping out of his way, Jörg Müller pushing all the time. The gap between him and the leading Mercedes now down to 10.6 seconds. This Silverstone race is going to be a fight all the way to the flag. And we've got some dust at Luffield is off. It's one of the little GT2 Porsches. That's Bernhard Müller in the multicoloured Michael Trunk car. And we've also got a Viper, a Chamberlain Viper, coming slowly into the pits, rather silently. Looks no fuel. That's Matt Turner in the number 54 Viper, and he's getting the marshal's help get him down to Hugh Chamberlain's pit. It's now Ricardo Zonta. Now this is a late extra stop for the Mercedes. They're giving it some more fuel. They're looking at the tyres, in also the Paynos, which has come up to 7th place. David Brabham doing a sterling job, but an unscheduled stop for them, which will lose them that 7th place, although they're going back into the race in 8th. Now, the leading Mercedes, is it going to need some more fuel like Ricardo Zontas did? Bernd Schneider back at the wheel. There's Mark Webber watching with Norbert Haug. Bernd Schneider driving as hard as he can. And look, they say fuel question mark in the pit signal. Fuel question mark for Bernd Schneider. Is that car going to need an extra stop right at the tail of the field? If it does, it could race, because don't forget, your second place is close behind and is absolutely charging in the GT1 Porsche. So what Bernd Schneider's got to do in these closing stages here at Silverstone is keep this up so that the Porsche doesn't creep too close, but he's got to fuel. It's a balancing act for Bernd Schneider. He's walking a tightrope in the lead here at Silverstone, and the Jörg Müller Porsche is getting closer and closer. Ahead of Bernd Schneider now is the green Porsche. That's the my car, which is almost a total lap behind him in 3rd place. Michael Bartel's Porsche 3rd, Jörg Müller's Porsche 2nd, a pit signal going out to the 4th place Mercedes. That's Raconta's car, which might have got that 3rd place if it hadn't been for that very rapid fuel stop. And still, Bernd Schneider reeling off these laps, and we're still wondering whether he is going to have to make a final fuel stop. Get the car to the finish. He's sitting behind Michael Bartels, making no effort to lap him at this stage, but the gap on the last pit signal that we saw was 14.6 seconds. By my timing, it's down a little bit on that. So Schneider maintaining the gap, but just losing on lap by by lap. In fact, Schneider doing a masterful job of keeping just out Jörg Muller's reach in these closing stages, but he hasn't got time to make that field he has to. There's Michael Bartels in the dark green and red Zaxby Porsche in third place. And there's Schneider's next pit signal. It still says fuel question mark. 13.2 seconds was there as Schneider elbows his way past one of the slower back markers. That was one of 11 Porsches. Schneider a bit of a moment there, but Schneider follows with the third placed Porsche still in front of him, still playing this balancing act to try and keep position and try and preserve fuel in these closing stages. His teammate, remember, did stop for... And we're seeing that moment with the back marker for Schneider. Bartels goes by, the Porsche moves across, nearly takes the front of the Mercedes out of the way. Naughty boy Harold Reed in that 911, still keeping the door shut before Schneider goes his way past on the following right-hander. That's always a problem to have in these events, but now Schneider has gone at on this final lap. Schneider goes ahead of the third-placed Porsche to lap it. Schneider leads. It's still Jörg Muller in second place, and Schneider now knows that the checkered flag is waiting. He believes he has got enough fuel to get himself to the finish, and now he's charging for it. Now Schneider goes for the checkered flag in the silver V12 Mercedes. The Mercedes crew watching. That's Norbert Haug looking pensive, hoping that nothing's going to go wrong on this final lap. But Bernd Schneider feels everything's going to be all right. The checkered flag is waiting. He comes onto the final start-finish straight, and Bernd Schneider crosses the start-finish line to win the British Empire Trophy for Mercedes. And of course his Australian co-driver Mark Webber, his part as well. Mark Webber's second GT race and his first victory.
Yeah, really, really good. I mean, Bernd did the first stint, I did the second stint, then Bernd finished. I mean, the pressure was there for the whole race. It was very difficult. So it was a tough race, but a good one. Good for GT racing.
And a great Mercedes win for Schneider and Webber. But look at the times. Uwe Altzen and Jörg Muller just 8 seconds behind them after 312 miles of racing. Porsche finished third, Mercedes fourth and fifth. And here's Bernd Schneider, the man who brought the car to the finish, delighted with his first win of the year.
Bernd, congratulations. Good to get that first win under your belt. This
It was not easy, especially in the beginning. My start was not that good, but after a couple of laps, everything went very well. The car was perfect balanced, and the guys did a fantastic job to give me such a good car.
The Mercedes mechanics getting the spoils of victory there. One man perhaps not quite so happy with life, Alan McNish, pondering what might have been. But the top Brit in sixth place, Jeff Leeds.
It's surprising what it does for you if there's a good chance of scoring points actually going.
the most enjoyable drive you've had for a while?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Yes, I always enjoy it anyway, to be truthful.
In GT2, no glory for Justin Bell, but his Chrysler teammates Olivier Beretta and Pedro Lamy beat a phalanx of Porsches by a clear 2 laps. In the GT1 Drivers' Championship, Bernd Schneider and Mark Webber lead on 14 points, 1 point ahead of their teammates Klaus Ludwig and Ricardo Zonta. So Mark Webber and Bernd Schneider have a lot to celebrate. On Mercedes' doorstep, it's reigning champion Bernd Schneider, who will start from pole position in a new lightweight V8 version of the Mercedes CLK. In round 2 at Silverstone, the American Painot led the Mercedes and Porsche before David Brabham was spun into touch by Uwe Altzen's Porsche. So disappointment for Brabham, disappointment for Painot, and there was no joy, because at the end, Mercedes had yet another victory to celebrate. Well, here at Hockenheim, Mercedes have taken the first 4 places on the grid. Ludwig's new V8 car joins Schneider on the front row. So Porsche, despite their Le Mans victory, haven't beaten Mercedes yet in this year's FIA Championship rounds. But the potential of the sleek GT1 Porsche has been proved at Le Mans. So today, Yannick Dalmas and Alan McNish want to tackle Mercedes on their home ground. McNish, on course, drove that Le Mans winning car, but here the Porsches are 5th and 6th, 8th and 9th on the grid, split by the mighty Panoz, 7th on the grid. And in GT2, it's Viper, Marcos, Viper at the top of the qualifying list. They come round the final corner at Hockenheim to complete their start lap.